Amber Miner is a native Los Angelino, now living in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. A lifelong plant and animal lover with a passion for food and art, she has joined her skills together in her love and care of land hermit crabs. Keeping 9 species of Cenobita and roughly 35 individuals at any given time, most of her pursuits revolve around them. Rescue, adoption, education, activism, gardening, small batch homemade foods, ceramics, and even her crochet work are nearly all Cenobita related. Please welcome Amber Miner.
Gardening for Hermits, tips for growing and storing edible flowers. Hello, crabby friends. Welcome to my hermit crab garden. Why grow flowers? By all means, grow whatever you'd like for them. Do not feel you have to limit yourself to flowers. I grow things that I cannot get locally or get fresh. For example, I am also growing a few black carrots. Fresh, pesticide-free, crabby-safe flowers are just so difficult to find, if not impossible, and expensive. We can't exactly use a scrub brush, peel them, or boil them to make them safer. Firstly, the most important reason is simply because they enjoy them. Doesn't help that it's one of the cutest things ever. Flowers are really healthy for them to eat and may even contribute to their beautiful coloration. A few things flowers provide: antioxidants, anthocyanins, flavonoids, minerals, omega fats, phytonutrients, polyphenols, and vitamins. Flowers are a natural food source they would find in the wild. Of course, the varieties we grow will most likely differ, unless you are lucky enough to live somewhere tropical. Offering flowers is more than just a snack. It can stimulate foraging behavior, which can provide hours of enrichment. Strategically place the flowers around the tank so they will have to do a little work before getting the reward. Remember to change up the locations often. Do I grow organic? Do not be thrown or tricked by labels. In the spirit of the word, one would think organic means safe, harmless, and pesticide-free. It does not. Organic does not mean safe. Organic allows for many pesticides to be used. Many of these organic insecticides, herbicides, and fungicides can be especially dangerous to our beloved pets. We need to grow or buy pesticide-free. This can be challenging. So then, where to start? I strongly recommend starting from seeds. This way we know what goes into growing them and that they are totally safe. Bonus, you get way more bang for your buck with seeds. For the price of buying one seedling, you can buy an entire package of seeds, which can start many, if not hundreds, of plants. Then from those plants, you can save your seeds for next year. There are many ways to acquire seeds. Buy from online shops, buy from garden centers, the grocery store, even the dollar store. Collect seeds from your own plants at the end of the season. Join a seed swap group. There are many great online groups, especially on Facebook. You will find that many gardeners are happy to share and are quite generous. Join a seed bank. You can check out the seeds you want and send some back at the end of the season for the next person to use. You can also grow from cuttings. Ask friends, family, neighbors, even your local garden club for cuttings from the garden. Always ask. Make sure to triple check that they are pesticide free. Seedlings. 100% totally fine to start with seedlings, so long as they are safe. If you are buying from a nursery or garden center, steer clear of the giant garden centers, big name stores. Small local mom and pop shops will be your best bet. Contact them before going and ask questions. If you cannot get a definitive answer on what their plants are treated with, then do not take the chance. Look for a similar label, grown pesticide free. If you end up buying from someone local, Facebook Market, road stand, garden club, neighbor, etc., remember to ask if they have been treated with anything at all, not just if they are organic. Where? In ground or pots? Where do I plant them? That's totally up to you, so long as the container is big enough for your plant, if not in the ground, or your soil is safe and pesticide free in ground. In the ground is great, free, and may require less upkeep like watering and fertilizing less often. Raised garden bed. Grow bags. Pots of all kinds. Big hanging baskets. Little hanging baskets. Just make sure it's big enough for your plant of choice. You can even recycle vessels and save them from the landfill. This was briefly my fire pit. I used a combination of all of them to maximize my growing area. What can I grow? Depending on your space and gardening experience, you can choose to grow just a couple of easier varieties, like calendula and nasturtium, or you can go all out and grow hundreds of varieties. It's all up to you, but start small until you get the knack for it. Don't limit yourself to just traditional flowers. Vegetables like squash and peas, fruits like melon and strawberry, herbs like basil and sage, grains like buckwheat and amaranth, even the weeds like clover and dandelion. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of varieties that are safe. You can pick from the list of trusted Facebook groups or websites, or do your own research for things that are unsure of. The possibilities are nearly endless. Feed me! Safe fertilizers. Here is a selection of various plant foods that may be used. Some of these you may already feed your hermits, so you know they are safe. This is by no means a complete list. The most important is a good, basic, all-purpose fertilizer. This is what I use. It's a balanced mix of feather meal, alfalfa meal, blood meal, glacial rock dust, natural rock phosphate, fishbone meal, mineralized phosphates, potassium sulfate, insect frass, basalt rock dust, humic acid, gypsum, kelp meal, oyster shell flour, and green sand. You can mix this into your soil before planting, or you can add it to the top of the soil later if you think your plants need it. Next we have kelp. I like using liquid kelp extract. You can also buy the powdered or granulated kind. Those you will need to mix into your soil. Alternately, you can use fresh kelp, but then it needs to rot in place. It is time consuming and can be stinky. Best if you do it over winter while you aren't growing anything. This is straight from the bottle. You will need to dilute it. Once you have it diluted, per the instructions, there are 2 ways to use it. The most obvious way to use it is just to water with it. The next is called foliar spray. We are going to feed the leaves directly. Leaves only, no flowers please. Next we have our Big Brand conventional fertilizer. You can buy it in several different forms, but these bright blue crystals are the ones you are probably most familiar with. Now there's a bit of debate as to how good they are for our use, so I'll neither recommend it or tell you not to use it. We all use what we can and make the best choices we are able to. Worm castings, worm poop, black gold for the garden. You can mix this in your soil at any time or sprinkle it on top. It is an all-purpose, slow-release fertilizer that also improves your soil structure. Green sand, glauconite, mined from the ocean floor, it is full of beneficial trace minerals in a form that is easy for the plants to uptake and will not burn them. It is also a soil conditioner, so will improve your soil structure, especially true if you have clay soil. Crab and lobster shell exoskeleton, another great all-purpose fertilizer that you may already have on hand, full of micro and macronutrients as well as calcium and chitin. Chitin helps promote beneficial fungal growth as well as supporting beneficial insects that keep pests away. Add some under each plant or on top of the soil. Clam and oyster shell. These will add calcium over time. Most importantly though, they may help deter pests such as moles, voles, slugs, and snails. Put them around the mole-vole tunnels or surround your plants with them to keep slugs and snails away. Eggshells. Their use is identical to the oyster shell. Use them to deter garden pests while adding a little calcium. Pest management without pesticides. One of the best ways to keep pests at bay is to keep your plants happy and healthy. This allows them to naturally fend off disease and quickly recover from an insect infestation or damage. The 4 most important things to consider are healthy soil, adequate water, not too much or too little, adequate sun, not too much or too little, the right season temperature. Also look for disease-resistant plants. Some varieties are better than others. No insecticides, no herbicides, no fungicides, not even organic. Slugs and snails. This poor little gourd is being eaten by slugs. Add your eggshells to the soil around the plants you want to protect. Make sure to keep some of the pieces big and jagged. This makes it uncomfortable for the snails and slugs to climb over. Most other critters. Cinnamon and chili pepper powder sprinkled around your plants are a natural way to ward off a variety of insects that would have to climb over it to reach the plant. As a bonus, the cinnamon is said to also help keep some disease at bay, especially protecting young seedlings. Spray 'em. Go ahead and use a strong jet of water to knock those bugs off. This is especially useful for aphids. Old fashioned. Pick, squish, Pick squish, pick squish, pick squish, pick squish, pick squish. Beer trap. Beer in a shallow dish buried below ground will attract and kill slugs and snails. Leave it out overnight. A potato trap can be used to attract and capture isopods, weevils, etc. Many of you will already be familiar with this method to capture isopods to use as a cleanup crew. Detailed instructions are easily found online. Garden helpers. Making your garden space welcoming to helpers can really reduce your workload. Spiders are especially important. Please, for the love of plants, do not kill spiders. You can also welcome or sometimes even purchase praying mantis or ladybugs. Ladybugs are especially good aphid hunters. Birds. Birds can also be wonderful garden helpers. They will eat most bugs, but especially grubs, caterpillars, and other juicy things that would love to have a go at your plants. Let's talk watering. This is a no. Do not spray your plants. I said no, except in rare circumstances like foliar feeding or washing away bugs. The above ground plant does not need watering. It can cause or spread disease. Yes, please. Water at the base of your plants with as little splashing as possible. It is typically also best to water in the morning, if you are able, so that any splashing that does occur can dry out in the sun throughout the day. Should I water? Overwatering can also lead to disease. Please check before watering. The soil may look dry, but it's not. Of course, different plants have different water requirements, but this soil is just about perfect for most. Weeds. Everyone has them, no one wants them. Just pull them. Or prevent them. Some cardboard and mulch do wonders. Or fill an empty space with something beneficial. I've added clover. Once it fills in, there won't be space for unwanted things to grow. Hey, not half bad. Remember, these are only a few pest prevention tips. There will always be plenty of different methods to try. If one doesn't work for you, try another. Grow plants, grow! Now that you have planted your seeds or seedlings, give them love and time to grow. Make sure they have the right amounts of sun, good soil, that has safe fertilizer added as need be, and enough water to keep them healthy, but not swimming. Enjoy watching them grow. Harvest day. The best time of day to harvest is the morning, before the heat of the day. They will be juicy and sweeter. Of course, the hermits aren't too picky though. You want sharp, clean scissors. We want to damage the plant as little as possible and to not introduce any disease. Think of it like having a little surgery. Look for blossoms that are just opening. We do not want them to have used energy to make seeds yet. They will also continue to open a little as they are preserved. Immature. Just right. Bit too mature. Just right. Immature. Just right. Immature. Past its prime. Just right. Past its prime. Just right. You will also want to make sure you don't bring bugs inside. I inspect before cutting, Shake each flower. Let the harvest rest outside so any creatures may escape or let themselves be known for relocation. You may also wish to rinse them. Mine were just washed in the rain. I know exactly what's in my yard, and my hermits love any nectar or pollen. Feed some now, store for later. Feed some fresh, it's the best. Longer stem varieties can be placed in a vase of water and put in the fridge for a few days as well. Preserve for later. Freezer. You can freeze them to preserve them, but honestly, they will turn to mush. Maybe your hermits are into eating flower mush. It won't hurt them, but it's not really recommended. Preserve for later. Oven. Unless your oven has a built-in dehydrate function, it can be hit and miss. The high temperatures of the oven and lack of air circulation will typically result in cooked flowers. Again, okay, but not good. If you want to give it a go, put your oven at the very lowest setting and keep the door slightly cracked. Open it every so often to let the humidity out. For later, sun-dried. This method can work wonderfully, but generally only if you live in a warm, dry climate. Lay the flowers in a single layer on a flat, dry surface in direct sun. You can even buy or make an air dryer. For stemmed flowers, you can also hang them upside down as you would do with herbs. If they aren't dry when the sun goes down, bring them inside so they aren't hit with dew overnight, and bring them back out the next day. Preserve for later, dehydrator. In my opinion, the best method of preservation available to the average person. You want to dehydrate at the lowest setting. Remember, we are drying, not cooking. The lowest setting will lock in all the lovely beneficial things in the flowers. I know it's tempting to crank it up high so it goes faster, but you will end up with dead, brown, papery things, ruining months of work growing these. Size matters. Some flowers are large and bulky, are made up of many smaller flowers, or are very solid. This means it will be difficult for moisture to escape, resulting in uneven drying. For these, I like to cut smaller bunches away from the main stem, remove tough woody stems, cut the end tip off dense blossoms, cut them into even pieces. This will give you much better results and flowers that will last stored much longer. Do not overcrowd. They need airflow. Group like varieties together. This makes it much easier to tell when they are done and remove if necessary. The amount of time it takes can vary from a few hours to a couple of days. It depends on their size, moisture level, efficiency of your dehydrator, and the temperature and the humidity of the room it is in. Notice how much they shrink, the texture, dry but not crumbling, the color. If you choose the right flowers, their color will deepen, not brown or fade. You can see this one was a bit past its prime. That's okay, it's not bad for them, just not as good. I'll offer it sooner rather than later, and keep the better ones for storing. Store for later. Ideally, you want to store in an airtight glass container. Doesn't need to be fancy. I upcycle all kinds of jars and food containers. You can use plastic too, especially since it will be stored in dry, cool, and out of the light. Totally go ahead and reuse baggies. Light will deteriorate them faster, so store them in the dark. A dedicated cabinet is great. A box is fine. A bag is just as good. We don't need to be fancy. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. No matter what you use, put a date on it. Now, I know this jar was from last year, and I need to use it first. Thank you for taking time to watch my presentation. We sincerely hope you learned a little something and will be able to use this knowledge to start your own hermit crab garden, big or small. As a special thank you for making it this far, please pass me the secret code, Hermit Crab Garden, when you place an order at my booth during CrabCon 2021 for a special bonus homegrown crabby treat, while supplies last. This video is property of Amber Weiner and may not be shared or distributed without permission outside of CrabCon 2021 or affiliated promotions.